Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Shannon. This is Made by Boo and I have not had the happiest making over the last couple of weeks. I don't have a lot of projects to share. I did a lot of focus on a few and some of it's turning out great. Some of it did not. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. I kind of have a finished object. You'll see why it's only a kind of in a moment here. So the first project I have, it is a Musselburgh Hat by Ysolda Teague, and it was using Muse 2320 from her Troop 2320 set called Lake Itasca. So I was making this hat for my husband, and last time we met, I was this far along on it, so I only had a little bit farther to go and then completing the crown, which I did. I have the last stitch still kind of live on a stitch marker. And while I was going, it seemed like it was eating up more yarn than it should. I was a little worried that it didn't seem like, when I finished it, this was all I had left of the whole skein, and it kind of seemed like I should have more. But I was, trusting the process. This is not my first Musselburgh. And then I finished it, and I'm looking. I'm like, it's pretty wide. Tried to keep trusting the process, but I left that one stitch live because it was like, well, what if it's just not quite right? And folded it in, and if you looked at the cover video picture, you already kind of know. You can kind of see it's not quite right. And it was like, well, maybe, let me see. And then I put it on my own head, and like this is loose. My husband, I have a decently sizable head in my personal opinion. Hats don't always fit well on me, and then my hair tends to push them off, so I don't usually make or wear a lot of hats. It gets cold and I just suffer usually. We're kind of go with the I'll be inside soon. I have a few I've made, but they always just seem to fall off my head with my hair. I don't know. I either have to shove all my hair in there and then it feels weird because the hat is not big enough to shove all my hair in there, or as I move, I could just feel the hat going up as my hair pushes it. It's a mess. But even with me having a biggish head, this hat is huge. I always hear people talk about how you need the negative ease for a hat, and there is a point of too much negative ease, of course, because if it's too tight, then it hurts. But this is definitely not enough. So it's done, but I'm going to have to pull pretty much the whole thing out. What I realized later, and this is one of those where it's semi-embarrassing, but so I taught myself to knit when I was 19. At that time, I'm 42. YouTube tutorials were not a thing. I had a book that I bought from a Michaels, and I was by myself. I did not know anybody who knit. I did not find a local knit group. It didn't even occur to me that local knit groups existed then. A lot of the early information and knitting trends I got were from blogs here and there. It was a really early going, and I taught myself looking at pictures in a book that was technically designed for kids. And I did not know until a year ago that I technically taught myself to knit wrong. What I thought was correct was always twisting the stitches. And it's fine. I clearly have been doing fine with knitting for all that time, but once somebody pointed it out, it was one of those where it's wow, that's a little embarrassing. I've been doing that for a very long time. I'd already been doing these kind of videos and had a Instagram that I posted a lot on. And then somebody just pointed out, wow, all your stitches are knitted. That's interesting. Did you mean to do that? And it was twisted stitches? What is even a twisted stitch? It was just something that never occurred to me. And so I taught myself, I looked up some videos, realized what I was doing, and taught myself to knit correctly so I could have regular knit stitches and twisted stitches. And this is not the first thing, like looking at that, it should have been a much bigger red flag. But this is not the first thing that I've run into where I realized I made a project like this and I measured my gauge and everything should have been fine when I did it like over a year ago. I measured my gauge again here like when I was on the crown and it's like, yep, same number of stitches per inch. I should have measured again up here. And before I do this, before I restart it, because I'll pull it all back, hopefully just to the crown, and it's still like, it'll be a whole bunch, but I'm not planning on starting all the way from the start if I don't have to. And it's going to go into a timeout period first because I can't yet. But it should have occurred to me that when I'm not twisting my stitches, my gauge is bigger. So I needed fewer stitches per round. And my gauge being bigger on some things has not been a big deal. Like with my socks, some of the socks I make now are a little loose, and I've kind of played with a little bit here and there of adjusting it to see if I like different size needles better and things like that. But this was the first one that really felt devastating, that I got the gauge so wrong. Because it's not like, I mean, the socks I'm wearing right now are a little bit loose, but I don't like that super tight negative ease on my hand knit socks. I like them a little bit looser fitting. I know that sounds weird because most people don't like looser fitting socks, but I don't like feeling like it doesn't have enough stretch for me to put on. But there's just no making this work on a human head of anybody that I know, let alone the person I was making it for. And I mean, my husband, he says the hat all baggy looks cute on me, but it's like, it doesn't really matter. It's not for me, and it's not right. So, finished object that will be frogged as soon as I can forgive it. It's going to sit in timeout for at least a week or two, and then it's actually been pretty warm for a winter here in Idaho. We got snow here and there, but like it's in the 50s a lot lately. Like it's still pretty cold in the morning. But this was going to be like a double layer hat for my husband in the coldest of winter. And I thought about doing it a little bit later than I should have in a year that has not been super cold. So, I mean, he's not really going to wear a double layer hat this year unless something happens and we get a random blizzard out of nowhere. So, I can give it a week or two to forgive it, double check the gauge, pull it out, and then slowly work on rebuilding it for him to wear next year. But this has kind of had me a bit bummed with my projects right now. So, even though that project was kind of an epic fail, like the rest of my projects are technically going really well, and I shouldn't be too upset about them. However, I think that one is just kind of affecting how I'm feeling about a lot of other ones. And then I have this project. It's 2 project bags, but it is technically one project. This is one that is, I will be happy when it's done, but I have not been enthusiastically working on it. So this is the last, like the absolute last pair of socks I am making for my daughter and I's coordinating Broadway socks. I have been loving wearing our coordinating socks to each of these shows. We have one show left. We will be seeing Wicked at the beginning of April. But I have gotten so burnt on these socks because like they're coordinating, so they're not identical, but they're still close enough to identical, and I am making 2 pairs of each. So it has been 10 pairs of socks. It has gotten to the point where I'm not making any other socks this really has been like my mindless knitting for a while. So it's been one of those where it's like I have the project that was an epic fail, and then I have the project where I'm just kind of ready to be done. It's not been my most enthusiastic couple of weeks, but I am making good progress on it. So even if I am kind of a bit of a downer about my projects right now, they are not, this one is not actually being this mad. This project is not as mad at me as I am at my projects right now. that is the correct words. So this is using Cascade Heritage yarn. I've got 4 different colors. I do not remember the color numbers of any of these. So these are the ones designed for Wicked. So we're doing mismatched socks. So we have Elphaba and Glinda, and I have not seen the movie. I have purposely avoided watching it, partially because I heard it was a 2-parter, but I have never seen Wicked. I actually don't know as much about Wicked as other than it's kind of a semi-Wizard of Oz prequel, but not like... So I don't know everything. Picking these out was largely from my daughter. I have tried to not spoil it before I see it live if I have the choice for any of these. So with my Elphaba sock, I'm ready to start the heel. So I have got the ankle done. I am not wording very well right now. I am sorry. So I'm going to start the heel here. For my daughters, we did the cuff. I made the leg a little bit taller, and then she has a black heel on hers. And then for mine, I'm going to do it green until I get to the toe, and then I will do the contrast color for the toe so that our socks mostly match, but then we can tell them apart. Since we do wear slightly different sizes, it does kind of matter which ones we get. And then for my Glinda, I'm doing 50 rounds on my leg, and I am up to 40, so I have just a little bit longer to go. I mean, realistically, being at the heel, I will finish this pair of socks in the next week and a half max. They will be done very soon. It's just kind of one of those where when I thought of the idea of these socks for each of the shows, it seemed like a great idea, and then I just got burnt. And so now it's one of those where it's like, I can't stop now because it's one more show, and I mean, at this point, it's like a half a pair of socks left. So I kind of got to do it, but man, am I tired on them. So my last project I have been working on, I have done a little bit here and there on some of the like bigger monthly projects, but not necessarily a lot, not enough to really show. This is one that got a lot of focus last weekend. This is my Twisted t-shirt. It is a pattern by Brianna Lapino of Little Wolf Knits, and it is using the 2024 Advent calendar from So Happy Jane, as well as some yarns from her hand-dyed Happy Yarn Club. So I have got a very full bag. My bag of yarns for the stripes is dwindling down a lot, and I do still have a color attached, so please forgive me for my mess. I am currently on, I believe it is stripe number 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. So the color that is attached is color number 10. I am about halfway through a round right now. So when I showed you last time, I was about a couple rounds into color number 2. There will be 18 stripes when I've made this shirt before with also yarn from So Happy Jane. And it was within the last year. My gauge is the same. It's working out the same. But I knew kind of like the sizing. I've been trying to check and make sure it'll still fit. And when I did it before, I did it with stripes that were 10 rounds per stripe. I did the math, and these stripes, to do the 18 colors in the Advent, they will be 9 rounds per stripe, except, of course, for the shaping in the back on the first color. So that color is a little bit thicker on some of them. But, I mean, in the front, you can barely tell. And so since I last showed you, obviously I've gotten a lot of stripes. I have split for the sleeves. And then this bag is just overly full with yarn right now. So this was the color that I used for the top, and I believe it was Sugar and Spice. Yeah. The color that I'm going to use on the sleeves is this kind of like minty green, and that'll go right there. And it is from another one of the monthly clubs. It is the color Refresh. And then at the bottom where I have like these pinks and purples, I'm going to be using Cozy Winter. So it's kind of like a dusty lavender. And this is all I've used up of this one. I have so much of this still left. And I will have a lot left of the other ones as well. But I couldn't find a single color that I thought worked well for all 3 spaces. So I had my kids I pulled out just this big bucket of So Happy Jane yarn that was the same base. And I was like, all right, guys, here's what I'm thinking. And we mixed and matched and we found something that we liked. And yeah, now that I've split for the sleeves, I thought about doing the sleeves. And then I just kind of got caught doing more and more stripes, and I may not do the sleeves until I get to the end. I kind of wanted to do them early just because then when I do the bottom ribbing, it's done. But the way that my time has worked out, I'm just not sure that that's going to work out for me. I still have the color I'm currently on attached, and I don't entirely want to focus on this project that heavily this weekend. So this is almost all I worked on last weekend because I was so close to splitting for the sleeves, and I was like, I want to do it over the weekend and have everything ready, and then when the week starts, it's mindless, just work on the body. And I'm just not sure I want to make this the sole focus of my weekend again, just to get through those sleeves and then mindless work on the body. So I think that they're just going to end up waiting until the end. I had the yarn ready just so that I would be ready. But it's entirely possible that next weekend I may not even get much work done on this, which we will get into in just a moment when we talk about life. So yeah, not a ton of projects worked on. I really focused hard on that shirt, trying to get through those stripes, and then I was so close to finishing that hat, and I was like, I haven't finished anything. I need to finish something. And I clearly should have slowed down and looked at what was happening just a little bit more to avoid a little bit of disappointment there. All right, so very little as far as the knitting goes. So you would think that I would have a whole bunch of life stuff to share right now, but not entirely. So over the last couple of weeks, I've definitely been a little bit burnt out at work. We're a little bit short-staffed, so means sometimes doing double duty. And then I've had a whole bunch of paperwork, treatment plans, insurance paperwork, things like that I've had to do. And that all just kind of finished last week, so I have a little bit of a break until the next one comes up. But I had a cluster of things like that. So I had a lot of those days where I just needed to, don't ask me to do anything hard right now. And a lot of times in general with my knitting, I don't want anything hard. So focusing on just a couple of projects has been nice. We did go and see Tina, the Tina Turner musical, last weekend. It was very good. I think the only issue I had, they were marvelous singers, great job with their choreography. They had some great, contrasts between the violence that existed in her life and the happiness of the music, and it was very, very well done. The only problem that I really had while watching it was that the music very much seemed to have trying to go for a concert feel a lot of times. So it was really, really loud for the music, and then the talking was quieter. So sometimes it felt like I couldn't entirely understand the words they were saying, but the music was great. It was wonderful. We had a really good time. And then that was about the only exciting thing we've done over the last 2 weeks. Last weekend when we went and saw that, again, I was really focused on one project, and then that was about it. And I really focused hard on the Musselburgh hat as well, because if you recall a few weeks ago, I took kind of the lead from TL Yarn Crafts, used her template completely, and made myself a project bingo card for the year with the idea that this is going to encourage me to, these are my goals to encourage me to use yarns already in my stash. And it was close to the end of January when I did that. And we are now in March, and I have not marked off a single thing. And so it was okay, well, if I finish this hat, I have 3 different categories it could go under, so I will definitely mark one off. But as I'm going to pull the entire hat out and redo it, I don't feel like I can mark anything off. And I think that is one of the things that had me a little bit more upset at my projects because that didn't mark anything off. My Wicked socks, they're just socks. They're not going to mark anything off because they're not any of the particular socks on there that were designed for that. This will, but it's not getting done this week. And I have a lot of projects that are like that, where it's like, well, that would mark something off, but that is either not even started. It's a huge project. My ones that I've planned to do all year, and I just started kind of getting overwhelmed with everything that I wasn't doing and wasn't accomplishing. And I'm trying to remove that. I knew when I took on doing a few monthly projects that I might accidentally pressure myself a lot more than I need. I know I do that to myself, and I know technically that I should not have let myself do that. And it is one of the reasons why I may later decide that I can't do these year-long ones, and I'm just going to pick one up and zoom through it instead of having it go monthly. I am still happy I decided to do them monthly because it means I've started on them, but it may end up being more stressful for me to do it that way than I would like. So I'm trying to come up with some ways to give myself a win. I am going to pick up just like a tiny little kit, which I've got one that I could probably finish in an afternoon, and it would just make a tiny little toy, and it would be great. And then I would be able to mark something off my card. I'd have an easy to do project. It would be a quick and easy win. A couple of other projects I could probably push a little bit forward. But the other part that's semi-stressing me out in a way that shouldn't is we are going to have people visit next weekend. And while that doesn't mean I can't work on anything, because I will just sit down and work on projects while people are visiting, it does mean that I have to make sure that I select a project very carefully so that it is something that I can make progress on and all that good stuff, but also it's not something where, I'm sorry, I can't talk while you visit. I have to focus on this project. Because obviously that's not great. That's not what I want to do. So this one might work. We'll see. But that is also why I might not try to do the sleeves. And if I work on it at all while people are here, just work on the body, because then I'm just going around and around. In the Twisted Tea, there is like a detail that goes here and then goes all the way down. And in my last shirt and in this one, I decided not to have it go all the way down, so it's just on the raglan. So it really is just make sure I'm counting my 9 rounds and just knit and then switch color and then knit and then switch color. So it could be an easy one to work on while people are here. I have also considered if my Wicked socks are not done, those would be great to just mindless knitting on the Wicked socks. Yeah, I've got some options, but it is one of those things that's weirdly stressing me out, trying to figure out, well, what am I going to work on when they're here? And is that going to be time that now I can't work on other stuff? And it's easy when you get kind of overstimulated and overwhelmed with your own projects to almost start to hate them. And then you get mad that you're hating something that you love. And I'm hoping that doing a simple win kind of project, it's a tiny little like Woobles kit to make a teeny tiny little coffee cup. Like, we are talking a super easy project. But sometimes you just need that win so that you can kind of remember that, like, this is not always frustrating. Most of the time I love this. But sometimes one project not going the way you want can really just kick your butt hard. Like, I don't want to hate my projects. But 2 out of the 3 of these are kind of being a pain and not enjoying that. So I do still kind of want to push through those Wicked socks because I think I will feel a sense of relief once those are done. And I know that once I'm done with the heel, it's going to feel like they go so fast. And then I have another project that I did not work on in the last 2 weeks that I could pick up and work on a little bit too. That will help me feel a little bit more inspired at other times. I'm just going to ignore the sleeves for a little bit and just focus on getting stuff done and making progress. And I don't think that'll be done in 2 weeks. But my original plan was to work on that sweater throughout the whole of March and April. And I think I'm going to be done before the end of April, which, great. That's better than what I expected. trying to make sure I'm embracing the process. But right now, the product is making it hard to embrace the process. I'm definitely starting to babble. I have been very, very tired today, not necessarily sleeping well, and then my projects are making me angry. So I need to take a moment, edit this video, and maybe spend a little bit of time with my projects and see if we can learn to love each other again. Until we see each other next time, have a very happy making.